Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of the GreenThumb GrowTogether conference. My name is Mara Gittleman. I am the workshops and education coordinator for NYC Parks GreenThumb. We are the part of the Parks Department that works with community gardens across the city. And these days, because we have gone virtual, also across the country and all over the world. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We're grateful for everything you're all doing to keep our community gardens safe and healthy. And we're so thrilled to have you join us. If you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, we'd love to hear about who's tuning in. Let us know your name, where you're tuning in from, if you're part of a community garden. We're very excited to have everyone here. We are recording this session, but we'll have the recording focused on just the speakers. However, you can choose whether or not your camera is on using the little camera icon. And then at the end of the webinar today, we'll invite everyone to come into gallery view for a group photo if you'd like to participate in that. So during the webinar, we invite you to put all of your questions in the chat. My colleagues and I will be holding on to them until it's time for Q&A. This webinar is also being offered with Spanish interpretation. So if you'd like to participate in Spanish, you can go to the interpretation icon and select which language. And I'll put that in the chat again. So we're here for a DIY screen printing at home workshop with Essye and Babbie. Very excited to have everyone here for that. And you know, this way, the tradition of Grow Together t-shirts is now in everybody's hands. So Essye is a frequent collaborator with GreenThumb. Essye works at the Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop, a community print shop located in Times Square, Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. It is the only community print shop in Manhattan with stone lithography. They also have presses for relief, etching, and other printing techniques, including exposure units for screen printing. The print shop is currently open by appointment only. Call or email for a tour of the facilities. And we're also joined by my colleague, Babbie Dunnington, who is a project and design coordinator at NYC Parks GreenThumb, and my colleague, Bill Pape, who is doing tech support. So if at any point throughout this webinar, if you have trouble hearing or seeing, you can message him privately. He also, I think, put his phone number in the chat, so you can call, or no, he put the call-in number for Zoom, but you can contact him directly in the chat. And so without further ado, I will pass the mic now to Essye and Babbie.
Hello, I'm just getting myself, okay. Yes, thank you so much, Mara, Babbie, Anthony. I don't know if I've seen you in here yet. And then I would also like to extend a thank you to our intern who helped out with this project as well. Her name is Jenny Wu. And I'm really excited about this design, Paul Caicedo, and I'm wearing it now. And each of you, if you haven't already, we will still have these kits available. And they're approximately $40 to get online, but it's a speedball kit. And there's 2 techniques that you can learn. And the one technique we're learning today is drying fluid and with the screen filler.
And after the workshop, we'll send an email with both techniques.
Yes, and my contact information. So I believe we can start the video, correct? Does that sound good? All right.
Yeah, roll it.
So if you didn't get your kit and you're gonna have information so you can get it or pick one up at the shop. We have a few more left. Okay, so as Mira mentioned, I work at Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop. If you haven't heard of Robert Blackburn, he's probably one of the most important master printers in American modern printmaking. He's also African-American artist, and he started the printmaking workshop in 1947 in a loft in Chelsea. He grew up in Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. His colleagues were people like James Baldwin, Jacob Lawrence. It's a very rich history, and you can learn more about it. So we're located in Times Square area. It's now part of the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts. We have different techniques, letterpress. This is our screen printing facilities. And as we mentioned before, we're the only community print shop with stone lithography in Manhattan. There is one in Brooklyn, but that's the technique that Robert Blackburn was most famous for. He didn't actually do a lot of screen printing, but of course we have screen printing now, and we also have reso printing. So so here we have a photo exposure unit. That is not a technique we're going to be using today. You can use natural sunlight, but here you can see we work with artists and do additioning and contract jobs. And here I am in the screen printing area. So just briefly again about the print shop. It's a community print shop, and you can become a member. And if you've already done printmaking, you just become a member. You get a safety orientation tour. You purchase shop hours, or you can also volunteer for time and to work in the space. And it's all by appointment only now. And again, this is the kit, and I'm going to show you the materials in the kit as well. So if you picked up a kit at the print shop, you should have also gotten the design. We will need this to trace with the drying fluid. Here we have, the kit comes with paintbrushes, or one single paintbrush, but some of these lines are very thin, so I recommend having a few more sizes available, finer brushes. There's packing tape. You can also have blue tape or painter's tape or Scotch tape. Just work with what you have. And the kit comes with a screen, and it's perfect for an 8.5 by 11 size. It comes with a drawing pad and these inks, and you'll see the inks here I'm pointing out. There's the acrylic ink, that's for paper. And then you have the fabric ink. It comes with 2 fabric inks. And if you already have a screen, you can easily just go to or order online these materials. But if you're printing on fabric, make sure you purchase the fabric ink. I've made that mistake myself. And then we have here, you can also purchase this if you already have a screen and inks and you just want to learn this technique. You can also purchase this separately. It's drying fluid. We have the cleaner, and then here's the stream filler, and we will go over each of the steps so you'll know exactly what they are. And it also comes with instruction manuals, so you can learn a stencil technique. Over the summer, we did a stencil technique, and let me just say the stencil technique it comes with an X-Acto blade, and you can watch the video from over the summer that we did. And the paper stencil technique, it's only pulls about 4 prints. So I would recommend using Mylar if you want to do stencils. But with the drying fluid, you can get, probably 30 prints or maybe even more. And you can easily touch up the screen. And here, I'm just going over the materials again.
And you can get the design for this year's Grow Together t-shirt on the website, and we'll also attach it to the email in a follow-up to this workshop.
So I'm pointing that out again. And anyone if you have any questions about the materials, you can put it in the chat. And
the popsicle sticks are to mix up the different fluids that you.
And and absolutely, you have to shake the drawing fluid and the stream filler. So briefly, the drying fluid here, the blue, It's to trace the image onto the screen. And for the screen filler, that's to block the holes of the screen. And the drying fluid is blocking the screen filler from filling those holes. So you'll see that we will rinse it out and those holes will be open for the ink to pass through with that red squeegee. So you have your design. Now, this screen is available. This screen can be cleaned. Let's say you're done with the design, you're done printing, it's not permanent. You can clean the screen and you can do a new design. Something that you need to know about screen printing, there's either ink passing through the dots of the mesh of the screen print, or it's blocked with the screen filler. So you really need a sort of graphic image. And this is a perfect image for a screen print t-shirt actually. And make sure that you leave enough space around the margins of the frame here. So the image is centered, because you need to pass the ink and the pressure will be evenly distributed through the center rather than the margins of the screen.
And it also makes printing it easier, right? When it's like centered and leveled. Right.
Here I'm saying you might need a finer brush for this design. So I came with a finer brush. And now notice, you're going to be taping the image. This is for tracing purposes, to the back of the frame, not inside the frame, but the back of the frame. And you want to be able to just with, you don't want to stick it on there with, duct, some harsh tape, something that would be easy to release.
Like painter's tape, maybe.
Right, or even Scotch tape, yeah. So you want to, I'm talking about whenever you're screen printing, you want to be able to read the image from the inside of the frame. So you don't need to, think about reverse flip image text. So here, what am I saying?
I think you're saying about make sure that you can read the words.
Right. So you make sure you use the drying fluid for this part and shake it up really well. Otherwise it won't work. So you want to mix up very well. And then also when you open it, stir it too. You can use your a brush or those popsicle sticks. I'm curious if anyone's ever done any printmaking before.
Maybe people can write their experiences in the chat.
So you can see here, this is sped up. I'm not this fast. And this is where our intern helped. It was really fun drawing this together, and it's quite relaxing, just tracing an image. So I'm using a finer brush, and you don't want to go too thick and you don't want to go too thin. You're just really blocking the holes. And I know this, but it's better not to get globs of it. You just need a perfect sort of balance. So has anyone had any experiences, or have you already opened up your kits? Is anyone painting or drawing along?
It says we have some answers. We have one never. We have one did it with a youth group that was advocating for their local park to get more resources. And we have one attended GreenThumb's printmaking workshop last year, or maybe it was in 2019.
We did a different process last year, didn't we? At the print shop, we did a photo process, right?
Yes, we did.
And everyone brought their own. That was another project, maybe. Everyone did their own design, right?
Mm-hmm. That was great. There's some great designs that came out of that.
Yeah. And people were printing on tote bags? No, go on.
Yeah, tote bags. And then we have one in college. I did lithography and lino cut prints.
Fun.
And we have one never used photo emulsion methods, not reusable screens. So great. A lot of people are learning something new today.
Yeah, I mean, screen printing is supposed to be, well, I mean, stone lithography is difficult, but back in its time, it was supposed to be, something that you could not easily, but, to train. And it was actually a printing process for, pamphlets, posters, even, political satire, newspapers. So printmaking, in a way, it's, especially screen printing, it's great for, gardens, because we need to, raise money. And this is just a great way to make t-shirts or designs that's appropriate for whatever event we're holding. And we can just reuse these screens, So make sure that it's completely dry, and don't take off the paper until after it's dried, because it may go through, and you don't want to rip off the paper when it's still wet, and just gently take it off, as you can see when it's dry. Here you can see I had too much ink in the middle, or drawing fluid in the middle, but it's okay. And then what you want to do is make sure that all the holes are filled where the drawing is. I'm seeing that there's some holes in some drawing areas that need to be filled. So I'm just going back in and touching up in some areas.
Essye, somebody asked the question, what if you make a mistake when you're drawing?
That's great. I actually have a note for troubleshooting. This is, something that happens, obviously. And I didn't think of it until earlier today. I was like, oh, wait, people are going to be drawing on these screens for the first time. So you can just clean it out with water. So let's say you want to start your drawing all over again, the whole thing. You can just rinse it out. You can use warm water. Cold water is fine too. If you don't have access to warm water, you can use cold water, and just use a sponge. And you have to let it dry completely. And I find that it dries quicker when you put a fan or blot it with a newsprint. It could be newspaper or, junk mail. So that it helps it dry quicker. You could also, if you just mess up a little area, use what you have. It could be a Q-tip. It could use just a little bit of just water on the end of the brush, and then kind of clean it off and with a paper towel. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then also another question. So the first bottle, just a reminder, the first bottle was which fluid?
It's called drawing fluid, and it's the bottle that's blue. Mm-hmm. It has the blue text.
And you have to shake it.
Yes. Do not forget to shake it. And don't speed up the process by just not letting it dry. Just when you're doing something like this for the first time, take your time and make sure that you just go carefully through the steps. And it's great. I didn't realize this, but the kit comes with instructions. So I'd review the instructions as well. But yes, make sure you shake it up very well, and then just go one step at a time. So
got it.
You want to make sure that the drawing fluid is completely dry. It doesn't take that long. It's water soluble, so. I think it takes about I don't know, just give it an hour. It should be dry to the touch. Okay.
Thanks, Essye.
Yeah, it's the blue text drawing fluid. Okay, and now after the drawing has dried, I have here the screen filler. Now the screen filler is in red, and it comes out red. So, I mean, it's kind of helpful in that way. So shake it up really well.
Shake all of them.
Yeah, it's just, we don't know how long they've been in storage. Anytime you use these materials, it's just best to shake them up. So here you can see I have it flipped on its, I'm going to be applying the screen filler on its back side, okay? I don't know how clear that was or how well you can see the image. and maybe, okay, let me just pause. It's kind of going fast. So I'm kind of moving fast because I do this all the time. I should have, but that's why we have the pause button. But if you didn't see it, I mean, it seems self-explanatory, but if someone doesn't work with these materials, it can be kind of, you know, quick for them. So I'm mixing it up again. And then you'll see that you're just creating a not too generous amount, but enough. And because it's pretty thin, this fluid. I mean, it's not going to go through the screen, but it's pretty, the viscosity you'll see when you just pour a little bit across. And that's a gesture you'll see a lot in screen printing. We're going to be using that same line across, and I would do it through the short side instead of the long side of the frame. And then because it fits with the squeegee. So I'm going to be using the squeegee. Now, also, if you didn't have a kit and you have these materials at home, you can also just apply it with a Metro card and just, you want to make even passes across. You don't want to stop in the middle and fuss around and go back and forth. You really just want to make a swoop across and make sure that the squeegee or whatever material you're using doesn't lift up and lose contact with the screen, and even pressure. I'm using my left hand on the left corner, a couple, maybe an inch from the edge, and same with my right hand. And this is just to distribute the pressure evenly, and I'm not putting too much. It's really just enough to go over and not lose contact with the screen. See? And I'm not going over the wood of the frame. You can see I started before the wood of the frame, inside the mesh, right? Where the mesh begins, just before. Because you really just need it in the screen, And then if, of course, there's going to be some uneven areas, and I'm just finishing the rest of the drawing fluid that I poured out. Now, if you poured out too much, just try and scrape it up and put it back in the bottle. And if you didn't pour out enough, you can just go across, pour some more on the screen and go across. I just want to make sure that's clear for people. So let me just real quick.
And it's just basically making sure it's even, right?
Right. And you're going over just the mesh area, not the frame. And this is going to be also in the printing process later. You'll see I'll be repeating this. You really don't want to be applying any inks or drawing fluid, screen filler over the frame. It just ends up aging it quicker. There's also ways to protect your frame with tape. A lot of people will use sort of this white duct tape around the frame. So it's the wooden frame, so it's lasts longer. So I would say that's screen filler. And again, that's on the back side of the frame, not on the inside. And I would say that that takes about, and it should be, pretty thin pass. It shouldn't take more than an hour, 2 hours. If it's really warm, it'd be very quick. But you want to make sure you can touch it and it's dry. You don't want it to be sticky. Make sure it's completely dry. And here I am at the sink. It's completely dry.
Do you want to be careful not to have the emulsion and the drawing fluid overlapping?
Well, as you'll see, the screen filler, like right here, it will kind of go in some of the areas. Like if there's a large block of drawing fluid, maybe some of the screen filler will get caught in there. But as long as the drawing fluid is there, it's blocking the holes and will wash out with that screen filler.
Great, so you don't have to worry too much, really.
Right. And as long as you check your drawing through light and there's no holes, you'll see if the hole is covered, it'll be with the blue drying fluid. So you'll be able to see, but, and this is kind of magical. It's when you get to rinse out the drying fluid and the screen filler stays there. And that's basically your screen. We're done. And you don't need light. You don't, you don't need a photo exposure unit.
So you can do this whole thing in your garden.
You can do it in your garden. You can do it, at home. You can print it in your garden, when it warms up with, it's nice. So I'm just, I'm not spraying hard with the hose. You can just see it. This is water soluble and it'll rinse out. And the screen filler eventually will come off. I'm moving the screen from the front and the back and kind of spraying it. I did have to put a little bit more pressure. If you have a hose, you don't want an incredible pressure, but you can put your finger over the hose and just kind of get maybe a screen filler that blocked part of the drying fluid, But it looks pretty good. Just rinse it out. But take your time with these steps. Just make sure everything's dry. And here, I didn't have a lot of time, so I put a fan on it. I was very excited about printing. But you can also, again, block the screen with newsprint, dries faster. They dry pretty quickly, these screens. They're made with polyester, not silk anymore. You can also learn about the history of silk screen. It's from China. It's one of the older techniques, actually. So here I have packing tape. If you don't have packing tape, maybe you have some other tape at home. I wouldn't use anything too harsh. If you only have duct tape, what you can do is pick up dust, maybe on your clothes or your pants, or I don't know, towel, to pick up the dust so that it's not so strong, and or Scotch tape, like what you see in an office or something. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm covering the holes of the screen. So we have the screen filler, and that's what it's doing. It's filling the screen with this emulsion, and what you see on the edges here, I'm just blocking with tape, and that's so the ink doesn't go through when we're printing our shirts or our posters.
Essye, there's a question. Can you did you say that you can let the screen filler dry for two-ish hours? And could I let it dry in front of a fan?
Yeah, I mean, with all of these, you can let it dry as long for at the least, an hour or something. As long as you can touch it, and it's dry. If it's sticky, I just say let it alone. Don't rush it, Yeah, with the screen filler too, definitely a fan. I mean, you could probably use a hairdryer if you're like, oh my God, I'm really pressed for time. I have to get a shirt done in an hour,
And so if you notice at this stage, there's holes in the filler, maybe you didn't apply it like super evenly, and there's like a spot in the emulsion, not in the filler, sorry, in the emulsion, you can use tape.
The screen filler.
You can use tape, right?
Yeah, go on, say, that's good.
You could use tape to cover it, right? If there's like any like little holes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're noticing, oh no, I messed up my screen filler, just as Babbie was saying, we do this all the time when we're screen printing and we don't notice it, or we're like, you know what, I don't want to reshoot, or I don't want to have to reapply. So, or change my image. So what you'll do is maybe use a paintbrush, like the one that comes in the kit, and you can touch up the areas that have holes in them where you don't want the ink to go through. As long as you can see through the screen, the ink is going to go through there. And if you don't want the ink to go through there, just as Babbie said, you can even use tape, actually, like I'm doing right there for maybe some of the drying areas.
And if you touch it up with more emulsion, then you just have to make sure that dries as well.
Exactly. So again, I'm emphasizing the t-shirt on the inks. This is very important because it's really sad when you print a bunch of t-shirts and you realize that you use paper ink instead of fabric ink. So make sure it has a t-shirt, not the paper.
And the t-shirt one has the t-shirt icon.
Right. So I have the ink here, and
oh wait, we have a
yeah,
we have a question. Okay, somebody is confused. I
no
think about
problem.
the inks.
Huh?
I think they're confused about the ink, but they wanted to know, can you put a second color overlay for a funky effect?
Oh, actually, I wish I had examples of that. So, I mean, Babbie, you do plenty of screen printing too. Maybe if I don't understand the question, but are they talking about applying two colors on one screen to get a blend effect?
Not sure, but that's what I was thinking. Like, oh wait, I don't know. They said I'm confused. First ink, second bottle to use. Oh yeah,
Okay.
they meant the blend. They meant the blend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what black and red look like together, but I think it would look really cool to see what, maybe if you put the red on like different parts. I mean, if you put I don't know if you guys can see my mouse moving. Can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, we could see it.
Oh, okay, great. So if you put, red on one half and black on one half, obviously we draw like a line, and the more you print, that line would get fuzzier and fuzzier. I mean, the squeegee is not big enough for this image, but if you could put like, I don't know, black on the text and, and then maybe red on the top half and then black for the top, the final top half, sorry, the middle red and then the top half black, that could kind of create a cool blend effect, But yeah, you can definitely be creative, if especially if you have more than, you have several colors. Also, Babbie, obviously, someone might ask this. So I guess if you have black fabric or black paper and you want to print white or colors on it, you just have to, I guess, if this is your first time, just be okay with more of a silver, because you actually have to go through some process of bleaching or applying the white a couple of times, or even applying white before you put in a color. Or you can create like a really nice, I don't know, kind of muted red, kind of like a burgundy on black fabric or black paper. You can, before you print it, you can also do what we call in printmaking a drawdown. That's testing the inks on the surface before you print. So before you go through the process of that and of screen printing and cleaning your screen, you can just take the ink and draw down, maybe even with a popsicle stick, and see what that red, let's say, that comes in the kit, and scrape it onto a fabric, very fine, pass, and seeing what that looks like and how it dries on that fabric. But you can also, if you get really into it, purchase more inks and, experiment.
So there's like another question. It seems like there's two ways to do two multi-colors on screen printing. One is what Essye just described with the blend, where you put one color on the bottom, one color on the top, and then you use one screen to have like a blend with two colors where the colors will kind of be mixed into each other, or like a fade effect. And then there's also, you could break the screen into multiple parts. For example, like have the text as one screen and then the image as another screen. And then in that case, you would have to screen print the black screen and then let it dry, or whatever color that you use for the text screen, let it dry. And then when it's dry, do the second color. But in that case, you would need two screens.
Or you can use your same screen. There's so many possibilities. I don't want to get too complicated, but
yeah.
Anytime you want to add a color, you have to, let's say, oh, I want the text to be black, and then the top, the figure with the garden gate to be red, and then I want the inside the glasses where there's leaves to be green. Each one of those would have to be printed separately. You can use the same screen and tape off the areas, and then you would have to register the shirt or the paper. So if you're gonna go there, I would just recommend, if you haven't done it already, do some research. There's plenty of YouTube videos, but for 2 screens or 2 colors, you could also take the same screen and rinse it out and then do your second drawing in the color that you want it to be in, and print it that way. But yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about like how to clean the screen at the end of the.
Yes. We're gonna go through all the steps.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do an advanced class later this summer or in the summer. Okay, so again, it comes with a popsicle stick and you just mix it up. The only thing this kit doesn't come with is a t-shirt, I think, and maybe a finer brush and tapes, but it's got pretty much everything. And you can see now this is, again, in a screen printing, you see this line at the top. Now I have the tape blocking that area, so that's so the ink doesn't go through. And I'm putting just a bead of ink across the top of the image. And you want to use the short side of the frame, not the long side of the frame, because the squeegee that the kit comes with only goes through the, fits the short side, right? Perfectly, actually. You could use the longer side, but you would have to go back and forth in many directions. So this is how the kit's supposed to be used. And you can see as I'm applying the ink, I went over a little bit here. I'm circling it with my mouse thing here. I went over the image area a little bit. Just be careful not to do that. You really want to put it in an area where there's no open screen. I have quite a bit of ink. Now, you want to be careful to not have the ink go through the holes on the table. So you need to lift up the screen from one side and pull the ink towards you. Now, if you haven't done this before, it might take some practice. So in professional shops, the top of that screen would be clamped down. So just do your best to balance it while you're using your one hand, whatever your non-dominant hand maybe. I'm using my left hand to lift up the screen at an angle. I don't know what angle that is, like about 45 degrees. And I'm using the squeegee that the kit comes with. And my hand is pretty much in the middle of the squeegee, and I'm taking that bead of ink, and I'm just like the screen filler, I'm pulling it across as evenly as possible towards me. And you want to have enough ink that it can go across, it's not like the screen filler where you just need enough. This, you really, you can be more generous, especially if it's your first time. But you want to make sure that you have enough ink, and you can see I have still ink on there. This is, I'm going to be pulling that ink across over and over again onto a t-shirt. And oh, sorry. And so what I did was what we call in screen printing, flooded the screen. So when you flood a screen, you're putting ink in the open drawing area. And here I'm doing a test print, and I have a piece of paper on the table. I didn't just tell you that before. So I'm making my first test print to see how the image came out. And because I don't have someone holding the screen, I don't want to move it around. Once you put it down, either on paper or on your t-shirt, you do not want to shift it, because that ink that's through those holes, if it touches anything, it'll basically kind of, get on that surface a little bit. It'll smudge on that surface. So I have it firmly on the paper on a flat table surface, and my left hand is clamping the screen down, while my right hand through the middle, I'm putting pressure now, a lot more pressure than I would when I was flooding the screen. So let's just go across. And maybe this is just too many tips and details, and there, it transferred. Now you can actually see through the screen. The ink was blocking the screen before, but now you can see through the screen. So these screens dry pretty quickly, as I described before, and they will dry if you don't, again, flood the screen. So here, the image, and I'll go through that as we watch the video. So this is what I'm doing. I'm not putting the screen flat onto the surface. I have it at an angle, and I'm going to flood the screen, because if the ink starts drying up where the drawing is, it won't go, the next print won't go through. So you want to flood it to keep it wet, or so it won't dry. So,
but you don't want to flood it too much, or else the ink will kind of go out onto the screen.
You just want to do it once like that. And as long as it's enough ink and it's filling the surface area, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure when I'm flooding the screen, because I don't want the ink to go completely through the screen. I just want it to cover it so it doesn't dry. And then you can keep it, you can keep it up when you get your next paper or t-shirt ready to print. So I have it just propped up there. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to use this pad, and you need to put something in between the shirt. So if you don't have a kit and you have all the materials, you can use something to put in between the shirt here, inside the shirt, because like you don't want the ink. Yeah, cardboard might have texture, so something with less texture, and you want to make sure that it's complete. Fits the surface area. And this is good because I make a mistake in this print, but I kind of folded it, so I have the area where I want to print, so if you want to print it on the side of the shirt or the center, you just want to make sure that you center where you want that image to go on that now printing surface area here. And but you want to have something in between the fabric so it doesn't bleed through, because that can also happen, So I hope I'm not going too fast. And you can see I'm just doing it by eye. This is DIY. So this is just eyeball it the best you can, And I put it flat down. And again, I don't want to move it around the screen. And you have to go back and forth. On a piece of paper, one pass is enough after you flood it. But with the t-shirt or fabric, or maybe, fabric, that surface absorbs the ink. So you actually have to go back and forth and kind of, move the ink through the screen.
There was a question, somebody said, will this work on sweatpants material? And I think you answered that question, that it does work on sweatpants material or sweatshirt material, but you have to pass it maybe 2 or 3 times.
Right. And I can see sort of, and also test some other surfaces too, so you feel more confident. Like maybe use a t-shirt that you don't wear, so you can test some surfaces that you don't care too much about. If you buy a new sweatshirt and you mess it up, it's going to be really frustrating, especially if it's the only, if you only got 3. Okay, so here I made a mistake, right? I put too much ink through because it wasn't passing through evenly. And, just accept it. If you haven't done this before, or if you haven't done it in a long time, you might make a mistake. But let me just go back here. I mean, I haven't screen printed, I screen print like all the time, but it's been like maybe a couple of months. And it was kind of awkward for some reason, but I was using one hand, right? And when you're using one hand and trying to keep the frame, the screen flat, it can kind of feel uneven. So when it didn't pass through, you know, all the holes, the smaller the lines, the harder it is to fill those holes. But the bigger the areas where you have ink to pass through, you might have blocks of ink that could kind of glob up there if the t-shirt isn't even on the board. So here I am, you know, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna fix this. It's not a complete fail. I'm gonna take the extra ink on one side of the frame and I'm gonna just finish drawing out the text. You know, you can also do that. But no, I wanted to get a good print. So here I am, I'm flooding the screen. I can see that I don't have enough ink here. You can see I'm kind of running out of ink. That's when you want to add more ink. And also when you're screen printing, to keep things kind of clean, just make sure that you have an area where you don't mind ink getting on it, you know, so make sure you have newspaper or whatever, paper that you don't mind getting ink on it. And that way you can easily set your squeegee down. You can, just not worry about the area. But also, you can see here, very awkward. But I'm going to add ink. So again, I just flooded the screen because I don't want it to dry. I'm trying to get more prints out of it. And I keep one edge closer to me lifted with just another ink can. And you'll notice that when I'm printing, to keep things also very neat, I put the bead across the top before the frame. And when I'm printing, I'm going towards myself, printing towards, towards your body. And then you want to stop before you get to the frame. If you get ink on the frame, it's just ends up getting everywhere. So just when your image stops, you can then lift up the squeegee, lift up, and then take that bead of ink, and we'll talk through it though for the next print. How are we on time?
I think we're okay. We're at 12:50, so actually we're not. we gotta like.
It ends at 1.
It ends at 1:30.
1:30, yeah.
Oh, then I think we're okay because this is only.
There are some questions too, so we want to.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, we're
okay. Let's go through it.
I was just gonna say real quick that screen printing, it's a learning process, so people shouldn't get frustrated if they get like ink on themselves or on the t-shirt or something like that.
Wear an apron.
Wear an apron. Get like expect to have learning moments.
And I do all the time, see? So I had this, I was like, I need to put something in between the fabric, and I just used the board or the drawing pad that came with the kit. And then I folded it and I was like, you know what? That didn't work out very well. It was kind of a bumpy, uneven surface. So what I did was here, I didn't fold it. I was like, you know what? This is better. This will be an even surface, flat, even surface. And then here you see I'm bringing it down. But yeah, I mean, screen printing can get messy, but this is an art thing, so it's like, just, it can get messy,
Great outlook on life too.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are gardeners, come on. But yeah, so you can see I'm going back and forth. And then, so you want to bring that bead back. So here, and then this is another way of inking. So you want to go, this is like a way to get the ink off your squeegee, is going back and forth. And then I actually lifted it up and then I push the bead of ink away from me. So you can actually go back and forth, whatever technique that works best for you, And because I know I'm done with this, this is my last screen, I'm already putting that bead of ink into the rest of the can. You can reuse that ink. So I'm just, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. This is my last thing. Last print. And you want to put even pressure and on an even surface, and boom. My second print's better than my first one. And I think that, you know, no matter how long I've been printing, you know, that's why you have to do test prints and, you know. So I'm just taking all the ink I can that's left over from that and scraping it back. You notice I didn't flood this screen. And then now the tape, you pull it off and it kind of keeps your screen cleaner, less to clean up. And because we're trying to get through this, I'm not gonna pause as much for the cleaning up part. Visit the print shop if you're in Times Square. You can call us, see if you can pop in, get a tour. Here, I'm just doing, you know, cleaning up. It's just water and sponge. I'm not using any soap. I am now preparing the screen, not just to clean off the ink, but I'm going to be what we call in printmaking or in screen printing, reclaiming. We're going to be reclaiming the screen. So the way that we do this, it will come in the kit. And this is so you can have a new drawing. So let's say you're done printing for the day and you want to print some more to like next week or tomorrow, just that's it. Clean it, get the ink off, you're good. You can print it next week, whenever, a month from now. Now let's say you want to reclaim it. Now the kit comes with the, what's it called? The speed cleaner is what the kit, there's different versions of this, but the speed clean, you just want to apply, you can pour it on. And you might have to do it 2 times, depending on how long the screen filler has been on the screen. And you want to let it sit on there for 2 to 3 minutes. So it's the one that has the sort of violet text. It's called Speed Clean. And you want to let it sit for 2-3 minutes, you know, and after you let it sit for 2 or 3 minutes, you want to scrub it too. Scrub it with a brush, the way I'm doing, you know, so you start seeing it work. I think we can probably speed through this as well. I don't know if anyone's printing with us, huh?
You don't have to speed through. It's okay. We're okay.
Well, I'm cleaning up here, putting the kit away. And then I go back and I start cleaning. You want to use, it's, you know, warm water, hot water. You can see I'm putting my finger over the hose. If you don't have access to a hose, you might have to just put more of this speed clean on there. But it would be a lot easier if you can just, you know, put some pressure. So it didn't come off this time. And then I just reapplied another coat, which you'll see.
Do you think it's like it helps to let it sit for a little bit of time?
Definitely 2 to 3 minutes. Just pour it on there and 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, I guess you could do 5 minutes, but you need to agitate the solution onto the surface so that it's moving. Here, I reapply. Oh, sorry. You shouldn't fast forward. I reapplied, scrubbing it, and you can see it comes out really nicely. And after it completely dries, you are ready to make a new image design. And again, this kit comes with the stencil process or instructions. The process I showed you is with the drawing fluid and screen filler, and that should work, you know, I guess, I would say like 40 prints, but the image will start breaking down. So if you're committed and love something that's a drawing that, you know, that you don't have a printout of, just save it so you can redraw it. But and that way it's kind of a unique addition, right? Because you can't redraw the same design the same. But I would say about 40 prints. And then for the paper stencil that the kit comes with, it's only about like 4, maybe if you're lucky, 4 passes, if you know what you're doing. but I find it really frustrating to use a paper stencil, but it's still fun, and it's different from painting an image. Printing, it has an even surface, but you could also use Mylar. And we have instructions, video instructions for that process as well.
So somebody asked before, like, is it more cost effective to do a bunch of prints? And it seems like since you can save, you don't have to clean your frame or your screen. You can actually just do, if you only have time to do a couple prints in one session, you could just save it. You can just save the screen in the shed or something like that, and then come back another day and do more prints.
That's right. Yeah, you do not have to, you are not, yeah, you can, I could have left the image on the screen and cleaned off the ink. You want to make sure you clean the ink and then save it for another day. Yes. Because
if the ink dries, then it can damage the screen, right? And make it not, if you don't clean off the ink.
Yeah, you would have to, you would have to use the screen filler to get it out, and then your whole image would be gone. Sometimes I could get fussy where you're like, get off my screen and just apply more of the screen filler, or I'm sorry, the speed clean. And then make sure, you can tell I'm recording myself. After you're done printing, heat set it. So after it's dry to the touch, or maybe not with the hair dryer, you can use the hair dryer. That's a heat setting process that you can do with the ink still wet. But after it dries, don't forget to heat set it, or I don't know if that was.
Yeah, you have to heat set it so that when you put it in the washing machine, the ink won't come out.
Okay. Stop share. Thank you.
Great job.
And then you have your t-shirt.
And that's the first print that you made, right?
It was, actually. The other shirt went to Ginny, our intern, who helped out with this. So actually, there's only 2 versions of this, but we will make one for GreenThumb, friends and stuff, for Mara, Anthony, Babbie. Thank you, tech support Bill.
And yeah, it's this. So the inks, there's a lot of good questions. Maybe Anthony can, who's been collecting them, can start running through the questions.
Yeah, so there's just a couple questions that y'all didn't already answer during the workshop. So I will just start with the first one. Is it worth adding a hinge to the screen?
I think that's a question like, so that you don't have to hold, if you're printing by yourself, it's easier to kind of keep the screen steady while you're printing. You can configure those, right? If you want, you can put in some extra time and effort into making a kind of hinge to print.
I mean, it really depends if that makes your life easier. I have no, I haven't made one of those, but we do have clamp bars at the end of our table, and some of them have it so that the clamp bars can move depending on how large the screen is. But if you really want to keep this set nice and beautiful, I would invest in getting some of that duct tape. It's this really strong white duct tape that you put on the frame so that the wooden frame isn't getting softer and softer as it gets wet, as you're cleaning it.
And maybe we can, after the workshop, we can send some photos of the setup that is at the shop with the clamps and the t-shirt printing.
Yeah,
thing.
That sounds good.
Okay, so the next question is, should we be concerned about water runoff from this if we're doing it in the garden?
I mean, usually with workshops like this, you would put it in the sidewalk, right? Or not the sidewalk, the street.
From what I see in the the kit. The inks are all non-toxic.
Yeah.
So I think it should be okay, but we can follow up with that question. Double check and follow up.
Great. And then the last question right now is, can you describe the Mylar? Do you mean the drafting Mylar or Mylar like gift wrap?
I would think something's maybe strong enough that won't kind of move around when you're cutting it. So it could be acetate or Mylar. I think acetate, one of them doesn't like, shrink or change size or stretches. I'm not sure which one, but I think just for this purposes, you want it thick enough so that you can cut it and it doesn't like gift wrap where it would kind of move. But if you can easily cut it, you can use wax paper, honestly. So if any of you have you can use wax paper. So like that's a kind of, in the kitchen, you can cut up wax paper into the stencil that you want. Just mind that if you haven't done, it's a technique called pochoir. And if you haven't passed ink through, let's say, a big open area, it can be quite tricky with screen printing. And the larger the open areas are, the more ink passes through, and it can get kind of, it can get intense to get an even pass, But wax paper, actually, I'm so used to, printmaking materials, but yeah.
And that's it for the questions that haven't already been answered. I guess if anyone has any other questions for Essye or Babbie, just feel free to put them in the chat right now. There is one that was just put in here. Can more than one person attend a class at the studio right now?
Okay, so I wanted to also tell you guys about the print shop. But one more thing. So when you let's say you get really into it and you have more than one color, you can mix those colors together and get other colors. Just make sure that if you're using fabric ink, to stick with the fabric. If you're starting to use paper, let's say you're making, cards, gift cards or art on paper, you don't have to worry about you can still use fabric, but you can actually mix the colors and make other colors. But the print shop right now, it's by appointment only. And if you're in the neighborhood and you're like, oh, I'm at 39th Street. This is right by the print shop in 8th Avenue. I wonder if I can just see it. You can call us right then and there, and we'll let you know and give you a tour. Or if you just happen to be in the building, you can just ring the bell during our workshop hours, obviously. And we'll let you know if we can give you a quick tour. But we do not have in-person classes. Right now, we don't. But we do have online classes right now. Some of them cost money. They're about $30, $35 a session. And then we have also some demonstration workshops, kind of like this, a one-off, that's an hour and a half. We have one coming up that's more like an artist or a lecture on artist books for the Printed Matter Book Fair. So we're doing quite a bit of online events. Obviously, we're kind of lucky. A few of our older members, they've been coming in, and they recently just got their one got their second vaccine shot. So I don't know, it's kind of exciting. And the way that we decide to operate as staff is I don't see my coworkers in person, because if something happens where they might have had some COVID contact or someone COVID positive, then I can keep the shop open for them. But in that way, we have online events. And then we're also doing some collaborations with the New York Public Library. And those are all, pay as you can. You can donate or just check out the workshop. And we also have scholarships for our classes that cost money. So if you're interested in that, you can just email us. And I just want to make sure that my email contact is available to you guys. So if you didn't get a kit, and we have about 10 more left, I believe. And we're in Times Square area. So you can just email me and I'll reserve one for you to pick up. Is that?
Okay, so there are two more questions that came in while you were talking. One is just a clarification, asking, so if I'm saving the design, I should wash the screen with warm water and a little bit of soap. And if I want to clean the screen entirely, I should use the speed clean liquid.
Yep.
Great.
So if you just want to clean the ink off and save the screen to print for later, you can use water. Yeah, soap too. That actually works. I mean, I guess, yeah. And then for the screen, when you're ready, just use the speed clean. That's when you're done with the image, you know.
Great. And then one person requested that you talk a little bit more about heat setting.
Yeah, sorry, I was so nervous about time. So
sorry, I caused false alarm.
Do you want to say, Babbie?
Sure, I can jump in, give you a little talking break. Yeah, heat setting is important because if you print your t-shirt and then you don't heat set, when you put it in the washing machine, the ink will come off because it'll wash off with the water and soap. So after you make your print, like Essye was showing in the video, just you can take a hair dryer and put heat on the ink so that the heat kind of fuses the ink to the shirt. You could also just throw it in the drying machine, like don't wash it, but put it just directly into the drying machine and run it. And that's another way to heat set it so that when you do wash it, the ink will stay on the shirt. So that's a pretty important step because you could go through all of this and then just have your ink come out. So yeah, definitely heat set the ink on it. And then also I just wanted to maybe mention to people the importance of keeping, this is kind of random, but the importance of like after you make your screen and your screen printing, especially if you're doing it by yourself, since we're social distancing with COVID and everything, just the importance of holding it in place and not letting it move around. And that might be helpful. Somebody had mentioned the hinge idea. That might be helpful. So we can send some information in the follow-up email about that.
Great. And that is all of the questions. So I'm going to pass it on to Mara.
Great, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Let me add myself, hang on. My name is Mara. Again, thank you all so much for joining today. I want to invite everyone to to turn their cameras on and join us for a group photo. So while you're getting prepared to do that, I want to thank Alondra and Washington, who are our interpreters throughout the session today, and of course, Essye and Babbie, who just did an amazing job presenting all of this information to us virtually, which is very difficult. So thank you to our facilitators, thank you to our interpreters, thank you to everyone for joining today and for participating in the 37th annual GreenThumb GrowTogether conference.